Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 to present to you our preview of the Citrus Bowl between 8-4 Tennessee and 10-3 Iowa. This preview presented by our friends at BetOnline. All the major sports are in action this week with the college football playoffs ready to kick off. BetOnline is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info, including news for pro football, the NBA, upcoming fights, and NHL games this season. Head to the website today to get into the action, see all the updated odds for the week. Remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, to get your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. You can catch this one on ESPN noon Central on Monday, New Year's Day. Blake, we've had all kinds of jokes off preview about this game, and really wasn't the most compelling matchup. I think as we initially sized it up, but just because it's Iowa, and we have punt jokes aplenty about the Hawkeyes. But this game has gotten a lot more interesting. I prefer my bowl games where every team has got its full complement of players. But boy, some things have changed in this game that have made it interesting. Tennessee has lost its entire secondary. Now I think I'm not sure Iowa could pass on the two of us. And speaking of passing, Joe Milton out of this game for Tennessee. Nico Iamaleava is going to make his debut. We'll get into that in just a minute. I think as much as we sort of ridiculed this game as maybe not one interesting to watch when one team can't score for any amount of trying, but the dynamics in this one and some things that have happened in terms of players who aren't playing, I don't know. We'll see if this makes it more interesting than we initially thought, but it's kind of fascinating in some ways all of a sudden. Or maybe your choice would be another word there.
That's a fascinating, maybe too strong of a word. Yeah, I will put this caveat in. Obviously, I know I sound a little bit different. My background's a little bit different traveling for the holidays, so letting everybody know that. On these predictions videos we're doing, if you're traveling to go watch this game, just like to point out that at least it does have a higher over-under than the Iowa-Kentucky game last year in the Music City Bowl, which was 31.5, I think is what it wound up being. This one's 36. So, as you said, Tennessee an 8-point favorite in this game, according to our friends at BetOnline. But, yeah, I mean, Tennessee's got a new quarterback. Nico, I think, is – I mean, this is what Tennessee fans – this is at least that part
This is what they wanted.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, like this part is fascinating. There's no question, because this is what a lot of Tennessee fans have been asking for. They want to see what, they're getting with him. And after a bit of an up and down season, even though they finished 8-4 offensively, there were some ups and some downs. I think there's excitement with that. So at least that is something that I think that makes this bowl game more interesting from that aspect. And like you said, I think when we dive into it a little bit more, we're going to have our fun with the, Iowa offense and such. But, Tennessee has lost a lot of guys on defense, especially the secondary. And, so you can't discount that either. But it at least sets up for a more compelling matchup on paper, just based on Tennessee inserting a quarterback that, again, a lot of high expectations for.
This game should have been Christmas Day, because it's like my son. We got all the presents underneath the tree, for 2 weeks, and he's sizing them up every morning, seeing if something's been added, checking out the packages to kind of guess what's in them. I feel like that's Tennessee's season. Everybody's kind of been waiting for this Nico Iamaleava thing. Joe Milton had all the preseason hype. I think all the reasons why it wouldn't work showed up, and now he's opted out of the bowl game. And so I don't know how much addition by subtraction there is at quarterback here, and addition by addition. But we're about to find out. I think that is the most fascinating element of this matchup. And boy, speaking of fascinating, anytime you win against Iowa's defense, which had its backs against the wall all season, that as much as we make fun of Iowa won 10 games, and it's because of this defense. And because of one other thing I'm going to bring up at the end too, that doesn't ever get talked about, but Iowa gave up 13.2 points a game, which is incredible when your offense gives you nothing because, again, your back's always against the wall. Tennessee averaged 31.5 a game. Average per play, Tennessee 6.6, Iowa 4.0. Tennessee ran the ball 51% of the time. I'm going to guess it's going to be more than that in this one. Tennessee got 6.1 per run play. Iowa gave up 3.5. Per pass play, Tennessee 7.1, and Iowa gave up just 4.4, which is elite. Turnovers, Tennessee 1.5% turnover rate. Iowa 1.7% turnovers forced rate. Look, it's all going to come down. This is the interesting part of it, okay? Josh Heupel said he didn't play Nico Iamaleava this year because he did not trust that offensive line to protect him, in so many words. Now this is the moment of truth because you're playing a defense that's stout, and it's going to be very interesting. Again, I think they'll go run heavy. My guess is they run it probably 2/3 of the time just based on the circumstances. But this is a very interesting spot because you didn't play your future star except in blowouts against bad teams for the most part. And now you were throwing him out there against one of the best defenses in the entire country.
No, I mean it makes for a lot more. Again, you kind of look at, because Tennessee, like we said, I think there was the misconception even over the past several years, right, that just Tennessee just wants to throw, 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 throw. But as we've said many times, it's not the case. Like you just look at the running game. Now, of course, it is worth noting that they're not going to have Jalen Wright in this one because he opted out. And so, that takes a dynamic away from their offense, right? You're talking about 1,000-yard rusher who is not playing. And so now you've got to start, or a new quarterback stepping in without your top rusher. But now we say that. Now keep in mind, if you're an Iowa fan and maybe you haven't watched a lot of Tennessee, Jalen Wright was the leading rusher with 1,000 yards, but like
they had 3 or 4 dudes.
I was going to say, what Jabari Small is capable of, what Dylan Sampson is capable of, and all that. So let's not act like one of these other guys couldn't go off for 100-something yards in this game, because they absolutely could. But so I think what you said about Tennessee's they're going to go run heavy here. I'd be surprised if they don't, or they may just unleash the beast, right? They may just say, all right, let's just go out and let me show you what we've been sitting on here. Let's show you that Nico is just going to sling this thing around the field. But yeah, I mean, look, we kind of talked about it in the Penn State Ole Miss game when we previewed that one. Like, you talk about defenses and maybe the level of competition at times in terms of the offenses, but you don't want to take anything away just based on, again, you have a defense that went out and did its job like regularly throughout the entire season, did its job, and that's why they were able to get to the Big Ten championship. Didn't go so well for them offensively, as we know. They lost 26-0, but still, this is a capable team, and I think we'll get to the picks in a minute. And I'll tell you why I'm leaning one way more so than the other, but this is what's going to give Iowa the best chance, right? It's just they're going to have to lean on their defense here. They're going to have to lean on the fact that they're getting a quarterback that has kind of been put in this position for the first time, and trying to take advantage of that inexperience, and, again, take advantage of a Tennessee team that doesn't have their lead running back, but still has a lot of options offensively in terms of how they could find ways to beat and maybe crack through this stout Iowa defense.
On the other side of the matchup, Tennessee allowed 22 points a game. And frankly, as the season went on against the better teams, wasn't that good. Of course, the Vols have now lost their secondary. Does it matter? I don't know. Iowa scored 16.6 a game. Iowa averaged, oh my goodness, 3.8 yards per offensive snap, Blake Lovell. 3.8 yards per offensive. How is that even possible? It ran at 61% of the time, 4.1 yards per rushing play. It threw 3.4 yards per passing play. That takes sacks out of it. Tennessee gave up 4.1 per rush play, 6.1 per pass play, and it gets even worse. Iowa turned it over 2.7% of snaps. So not only could it not move the ball, it also turned it over at one of the worst rates in the country. Tennessee forced turnovers 1.8% of the time, which is maybe a little lower than I would have thought. Tennessee does tend to get after the passer, 36 sacks. Iowa sacked 28 times. Look, I think Tennessee's losses in the secondary might have mattered against literally any other team that made a bowl game. I mean, pick one from the Conference USA. But against Iowa, I don't know how much it matters.
Yeah, I just, yeah, I don't know. Like you said, Tennessee did a good enough job of pressuring the quarterback this year, and I think that's the area where it's if you're trying to find a path for Iowa to get anything going offensively, I even with the secondary subtractions, you still feel like there's enough of a chance for Tennessee to disrupt things up front to where it just makes it difficult on Iowa to get anything going. And I mean, I don't know how much even more to add to it. I mean, like you said, look, I know there's going to be Iowa fans that watch
3.4
this,
yards per
and
passing play. How does that
I
happen?
I think, look, in knowing some Iowa fans, like there is some frustration there. I would say, to put it lightly, in terms of watching them offensively at times, and not even at times, most of the time. And so, yeah, so it's going to be one of those where if you're a betting person, which is that we're not professional bettors, go listen to Jay Grease and Brian Edwards here on the channel. They do a betting show every Thursday. Go listen to their thoughts on this game. But I can't imagine you're not looking at this with Tennessee having a fresh quarterback in the mix. Iowa just being what Iowa's been the entire season to this point, and not thinking, my goodness, 36 points. How does this game get to 36 points? Period. Because the under hit in 11 of Iowa's 13 games at this point this season. I know you're shocked by that, Chris, but um, so yes, like I don't know, like Tennessee's defense, I think like we said, it was a team that still was going to get all the notice for their offense, but we did see them do some good things defensively, even though against some of the other, like you said, maybe more so the second half of the season, there were some things that you could pick apart. But I say all to say, we still got a Tennessee team that's doesn't have some guys that were on the field a lot this season. So who knows? Maybe that's the best way to put it. Who knows here? Maybe this is what Iowa's been looking for, is that the breakthrough game right here in this game at Camping World Stadium is to break through and kind of showcase an offensive juggernaut, the likes of which we've never seen before. I'm not going to bet on that, but that's about all I got for that side. So
Now, I'm going to give you one more thing. This doesn't get talked about a lot, but penalties. Tennessee was the most penalized team in the league in the SEC, according to yards, 71 a game. Iowa, 30 yards of penalties a game. I don't know where that ranked nationally. I'm guessing that was top 5, maybe number 1 or 2. So in a game where mistakes can wipe out a big play, and I don't think there'll be a ton of big plays, that's something to think about. I mean, again, this is a team in Iowa that just, you look at this and you go, there is no way they should have won 10 games in a good league with all the deficiencies, but they did. And here they are against a quarterback who's never been in this spot. I mean, all jokes aside, and I do think Tennessee will win, because when in doubt, if you can't score an offensive point, then it's kind of hard to win. Give me Tennessee 11, Iowa 4. 2 safeties for both teams, and Tennessee gets a touchdown.
Scoregami.
Scoregami.
There's no way there's ever been an 11-4 game played in college football.
Oh, it's going to be a first.
No chance. All right. So you said, it's like, how did this team get to 10 wins or whatever? Well, 6 of their games were decided by 7 points or less, which is not surprising, right? Given the offensive numbers. They lost to Minnesota 12-10, which is one that could have went in their favor. They beat Northwestern 10-7. They beat Illinois 15-13. They beat Nebraska 13-10. But here's why I'm picking Tennessee in this one. Even though I do think taking the 8 points with Tennessee is a scary proposition here, because I just assume I was going to play a game that's within 1 possession, which 8 technically still is, but I would take the push on that. Penn State, 31-0. Michigan, 26-0. So the 2 best teams they played, they couldn't get anything going. Like we said, Tennessee's going to look a little bit different, but I still think Tennessee is a pretty good team. So give me the balls in this one.
And those are a little different games, because Penn State and Michigan were just elite defensively, and so I think some of the
that's true. But
some of the scores were probably on the offense. Just to point that out. So Tennessee's not exactly the same matchup. What if we get a 2? Has there ever been a 2-0 final in college football?
It's possible. My
possible.
bigger point
Could happen
was
here.
to say that I still think I'm not, I don't. Yeah, you're right. Like Penn State, and Michigan are better than Tennessee. Yes, I would agree with that. But I still think Tennessee is better than. I mean, look at the rest of the schedule. The most teams on the schedule for Iowa. So I think that I mean it's only the what? Yeah, Tennessee would be the third ranked team they played outside of
Yeah.
Michigan, Penn State. So that's I think the bigger question to me is can we see Iowa do this in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl here against the Tennessee Vols? A lot of orange involved in this bowl
A lot of
through the
orange.
Cheez-Its, through the citrus, and the Vols. Seems a lot to be in Tennessee's favor, in my opinion.
How does Cheez-It get to be the sponsor of the Citrus Bowl? That just doesn't like.
Well, when you think of a nice
Do
citrus
you eat citrus and
Gatorade or
Cheez-Its
something,
together? Because I don't. So
I'd put some Cheez-Its in a little stir, give a little grind it in there. Yeah, this game could be a grind. So, but again, I think Tennessee. I'm going to go Tennessee's the pick, but not a professional bettor, but I'd be hesitant to give anything other than saying I was going to keep this thing close because so many games they played this season have been close because their defense has kept them in it, their offense has kept them in it in terms of having a chance for the game to go one way or the other. So
this one's gotten a lot more interesting as we get within a few days of kickoff. I mean, I'll be honest. I did not think, and we delayed our preview this just to see who was playing, who wasn't. This may be the one bowl game that got more interesting because of who's not playing.
Yeah. I agreed. I mean, it's going to be a lot, very interesting. Now, look, I want to mention something else too, real quick. But I said that about Iowa, and I think it is fair to point out, Tennessee didn't exactly fare well against Georgia and Missouri and Alabama, right? So keep that in mind too. It wasn't and that's why I said I don't want to go too strongly with that.
But those aren't even, and I see what you're saying. Those aren't even good comps because those teams aren't even in the ballpark.
Right.
Like I don't even know who.
Yeah.
I don't even know who Tennessee played that would be in the ballpark of Iowa.
I can't. I don't know if there's anybody that you would even.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no comparison. I don't think so.
Yeah. So I don't know. This one to me, it's if Iowa wins it, I think it's going to be because Tennessee gift wrapped a couple of mistakes. And look, that is a possibility. I know Nico Iamaleava is the future of that program. Everybody's excited, and they should be based on everything I hear. But first game in any meaningful action that I can think of, unless I'm forgetting something. And again, it's against a defense that does not give you much, and they're very disciplined. Whereas Tennessee has been prone to big penalties and big mistakes in terms of timing and those things. So that's your scenario in which it gets interesting. I still like Tennessee to win, but I think there's some other factors here that if it doesn't go that way, those are reasons why not.
Take the under.
Take the under and take the punts. Lots of punts.
Yeah.
All right. This has been our preview of the Citrus Bowl presented by BetOnline.